I think the actual plan for the politicians is to just spend and kick the can down the line. Let the next generation of politicians deal with this. Let the next generation of taxpayers deal with this. Let the next generation of voters deal with this. I honestly don't think that they have a plan to solve this at all. The U.S. National Debt Tracker, as of January 19th, let's see just what the debt is today. The U.S. government is spending so much money that they're basically trying to bankrupt the company in record time. The U.S. National Debt Tracker, as of January 19th, 34 trillion, 660 billion, 163 million, $447,630, and growing rapidly. If they can't keep this, if they can't fix this, there's nowhere for the U.S. For the United States to go except into bankruptcy. In fact, I think there's an old adage where it talks about people who basically put themselves in so much debt that they had to declare bankruptcy. And they said, how did this happen? And they said, well, it happened little by little and then all at once. And if you look at this chart on how much debt that the United States has, it kind of looks that way. Little by little, and then all at once. It's like a vertical line at this point. And, you know, every time we turn around, it seems like they're having some sort of contrition about the national debt ceiling, right? They're going to have a government shutdown because of the debt ceiling. The disappointing, the disgusting, the frustrating part about this is that they actually don't seem to have a plan. I think the actual plan for the politicians is to just spend and kick the can down the line. Let the next generation of politicians deal with this. Let the next generation of taxpayers deal with this. Let the next generation of voters deal with this. I honestly don't think that they have a plan to solve this at all. We're talking $34 trillion. And when this article was written, it says that's up $9 billion from the prior day. $9 billion a day or more. U.S. national debt is climbing at a rapid pace and shows no sign of slowing down. Hey, if you're just tuning in, my name is Christopher Ewell. We cover the biggest headlines of the day and what the AI trading data has to say about it. And if you're interested in that too, be sure to definitely hit the subscribe button down below and start trading with the world's best AI stock trading assistant today. Head to ovtlyr.com to see why outliers win. All right, let's take a look here. The unrelenting increase is what's prompting Fitch Ratings to issue a surprise downgrade of the long-term national debt in mid-2023. The agency cut the U.S. debt by one notch, snatching away the pristine AAA rating in exchange for AA+. In making the decision, Fitch cited alarms over the country's deteriorating finances and expressed concerns over the government's ability to address the ballooning debt burden amid sharp political divisions. Basically what we're saying here, right? This rating agency, Fitch, has decided there's no plan. There's no politicians that are actually showing any sort of resolution to this. Every time there's a government shutdown, it's usually about the debt ceiling, which they just make higher. So every time I see the news for a government shutdown, I'm like, what's the point? They're just going to raise the debt ceiling. The problem is the fact that to service this debt, to pay the interest on this debt, it's astronomically high. And when interest rates are continuing to go up, we're making it more expensive on ourselves, right? This is a warning shot across the bow that it needs to right its fiscal ship. And this is coming from a economist at the University of Central Florida. You can't just spend trillions of dollars more than you have revenue every year and expect no ill consequences. You can't just expect to spend everything and have no consequences for it, right? It's like if you gave a teenager a credit card and said, this is only for emergencies. And then they're like, I don't know, this bag of chips, that's an emergency. Oh, this PS5, that's an emergency. Oh, this $80 PlayStation game, that's an emergency. Oh, I need to buy a tank of gas for me and my 3 buddies. That's definitely an emergency. And then when you have not enough income coming in, and then these expenses growing rapidly, what do you expect? What do you expect? Brian says, good morning. Brian, good morning to you. Thanks for watching live. Politicians don't resolve anything. Brian, at least these politicians right now, they have no plans to resolve anything. They see that line go up and they're like, let's make it go up further. How high can we make that line go up, right? The America's fiscal outlook is more dangerous and daunting than ever, threatening our economy and the next generation. This is the CEO of Peter G. Peterson Foundation. Which advocates for reducing the federal debt. Who would ever go without advocating for a reduction in federal debt, right? This is not the future any of us want, and there's no way, and that is no way to run a great nation like ours. And who owns this national debt? The federal government owns a lot of it. Federal Reserve and the government accounts is $12.3-ish trillion. U.S. savings bonds count for $160 billion. Pension funds about 1.2 billion or 1.2 trillion. We've got other, probably China, about 3 trillion. And there's foreign. Not okay. So China doesn't fall into the other. It falls into the foreign of let's call it $7.5 trillion going to places like China and others. Right. Of course, I'm doing a Trump impression. Surely you get that. And the frustrating thing here is that while the debt has been a source of concern, like how worried should we actually be about the rapid pace of the borrowings growing? The borrowings growing. A nation saddled with debt will have less to invest in its own future. And I think we're seeing that play out now, right? We aren't seeing this incredible economic prosperity, right? The White House, those in charge want to tell you everything is awesome. Everything is awesome from the Lego movie, right? But that's not the case. People are fighting every single day just to put groceries on the table. People are losing their full-time jobs because employers are not able to pay the employees as much because all their other costs have gone up due to inflation. And so those employees that used to have one full-time job are now taking 2 or 3 part-time jobs just to cover their expenses. So yeah, there is a huge problem right now. In fact, 57% of Americans think that reducing the budget deficit should be a top priority this year. That's up just from 45% just the last year. So there is so much going on out there with not only inflation, not only interest rates, but the U.S. national debt's just skyrocketing out of control. And who's going to pay for that? You're going to pay for that with your taxes. So let's take a look at Intuit, the makers of TurboTax, and what do they have to say about their AI stock trading signals? In fact, we got a sell signal back on December 11th on Intuit. And you can see if you had followed these signals here, there's a 47.61% historical return, which is outstanding. So if you want to get your hands on these outstanding returns and get probably the best deal that will ever be offered for this AI stock trading assistant, head to ovtlyr.deal.com right now to get lifetime access to Outlier for one single payment. Now let's take a look at what the internet has to say about this, right? The U.S. national debt crosses $34 trillion. That's $102,719 for every single person in America. Yo, that's what I said when I saw that, right? Thanks for watching. Brian says the White House knows most Americans don't read and only listen to sound bites to get their information. So Brian, I'm doing my best to make a couple sound bites that are worth listening to. This person says, I really need to update the meme again because we're now at 34 trillion. And this is Spider-Man here, right? The people who are $30 trillion in debt are giving you a credit score. YouTube thinks you're going to love one of these 2 videos, so be sure to click one of these to watch more. And thank you so much for tuning into today's Outlier Live. We'll see you on the next episode.